what he's doing now. I think so.
As soon as you say that, the temptation's just
Yeah,
too
I
great,
know.
right?
That's the way I planned it.
See what's in there. I think it's running, right? Yep.
Don't look at it.
Don't look at it yet.
Well, it is 6 o'clock. Welcome to Global Technology Tech 5173. Say hi.
Hi.
Very good. Now, today we are in for a treat. Nice treat. Very good treat. We have Dr. Cheney, the Chair of School of Technology, speaking to us. And I want you, if you never met with Dr. Cheney, wave at me. Very good. So now I want us all to wave at him and say hi.
Hi.
Now, I want one of you to tell Dr. Cheney what do we mean by the hi in our class. It's not just say hi, we have something else. Anybody would volunteer. What do we mean by say hi in class? We say it a lot in the class.
Stay involved.
Stay involved.
To be active.
This is a tradition we have in this class. While talking, I just surprise them, say hi. So if they are with me, not sleeping or thinking somewhere else, they will say hi right away. Say hi. Big one. Hi. Very good. Very good. So without much ado, I'll ask Dr. Cheney to kindly introduce himself to us and then tell us what he has on his heart and mind. Let's give him a hand, please.
Well, Dr. Wabi talked to me last week and asked me to, invited me to come here and speak to you for a little bit. So I'll probably talk 20 or so minutes. But I'm looking at the course description online and just look at the first part of the course description. The course provides a dialogue on contemporary global problems influencing and influenced by technological advancements, and it goes on and so forth. So I took that into heart. I thought, okay, I want it to be technology related. And then I look at the qualification skills statement underneath there online as well. And the first part of that says open-mindedness with a free spirit of unbiased analysis of matters. So I thought I'll try to incorporate both of those things into the discussion today. So the first thing I want to do is this exercise. You all have various cards with statements on them. So I'd like you to turn those over now and take a look at those. And you see the sentence there. And I don't know, I'd like you to go through and count the number of letter F's in the statement. So why don't you take a minute and do that real quick. Count the number of letter F's. F.
Seven.
How many got one with 3 F's in it? Anybody? Okay, anybody have one with less than that? No, so 3. Why don't you trade yours, how many did you get? Oh, you aren't done yet? How many did you get? 7? Why don't you 2 trade? You had 3 and you have one with 7. Trade your cards. And who else? Who else had 3? How many did you get? Anybody get something different than 3? How many? 8? Why don't you 2 trade? And count up the F's in each other's card. Who else? Who else said they had 3? 3, how many do you have?
4.
4? Why don't you two trade? Who else had 3? Anybody else have 3? What about 4? 4? How many do you have? 4? Well, how many do you have? 7. Why don't you two trade? You have 7? Trade with him. How many did you get?
7.
7? Anybody have anything other than 7 who hasn't traded yet?
I thought you said this. F is
What? 7F? You already traded, right? How many did you get this time? How many did you get?
I feel suddenly ready.
Yeah, I missed that one.
You get 3 still? You said there were 7 or 8 on there.
Let's get past that.
How many you get?
What's it? Yeah.
How many? 4? Why don't you two trade?
I totally missed one of those F's in
We think
scientific.
that's simple, right? You just count up letters, right? How many people think that should be real simple? Everybody probably believes that should be real simple. Why are we getting different numbers of F's? Everybody has the same statement. I'll just clue you in on that little trick. And right there it is.
Because of the baby word.
And there's 7. One of the things we learn when we're learning English, we learn phonetically. So the F is a V sound, a V sound. So all these ofs, you tend to miss them. Of. So a lot of times you're going to miss those Fs. And that's one of the things I want to try to get you to think about during today's discussion. And as you go through this course and on to your careers, it's very easy when you're trained to see things a certain way to miss things. Okay? And I've got another exercise. How many of you in the research methods class tomorrow? Anybody in the research class?
Tuesday class.
Anybody tomorrow? I'll see you again tomorrow. I've got another exercise that's along the same lines that, you know, when you're programmed to think a certain way, you can miss the forest and the trees kind of thing. So that's the point of this exercise. To always be thinking about what you might be missing. And sometimes it's hard to do that. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what some companies have experienced because of what we call technological innovations. Does anybody know what an innovation is in technology? Give me an example of a technological innovation. Anybody? It's a technological innovation. What is that? What does that mean to you? What's your name? Ote. Ote. Ote? What's your what's a technological innovation to you?
Inventing new techniques.
New techniques? New ways of doing things?
Yes, new ways of doing things.
Okay. Anybody else? Technological innovation.
Something that makes a process easier.
Okay. Give me an example of a technological innovation. What do you got for me?
Hybrid cars.
Hybrid cars. So cars that, you know, they use different energy sources. Good example. Anybody else? Anyone? Technological innovation. Computers. The invention of computers. Did that change our society? Yeah, you bet it did. You bet it has. If you're older like we are, you would really appreciate how much it's changed society. If you grew up around computers, yeah, you've seen them get better over the years, but you haven't seen the change. It went from no computers to computers. You know, it used to be reports and papers, and all that had to be typed by hand. If you made mistakes, start over. You know, very different world. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about different types of innovations, and we actually can categorize different types of innovations. And there's 3 main categories that we generally talk about. A radical innovation, architectural innovation, and incremental innovation. I'm going to describe what each of those mean, give you some examples, and we'll talk about them a little bit. If you look at this diagram, have you seen a technology S-curve before? Anybody seen that before? It's very important for when you talk about, and by the way, I've been working hard today. I ripped my elbow out, so hard at work, coming in guest lecturing, you know. Anyway, so technology S-curve describes how technologies evolve over time. It's very important for a person going into technological management or into the technological workforce to understand this. Because if you go to work for a firm and you're using some type of technology currently, and this technology follows this type of curve where, you know, changes in the technology are really rough in the beginning, they take a long time to develop the technology, and then it takes off. It hits a tipping point where it really takes off and starts to develop. And during this time you have what's called incremental advancements in that technology. And so it's improving at a very rapid pace. Sales are high, everybody's making a lot of money, everybody in that industry is happy. And then at some point it hits another tipping point where things start to slow down. And that particular technology can't really be advanced any further using the techniques that we currently use. So at some point, some new technologies are beginning to develop that usurps that previous technology and actually takes over. And now you have a new technology that's moving forward. And it goes through this rapid increase, incremental innovation increase. And then it begins to taper off. And you just have continuous S-curves that are representing the technology developments over time. So this linear portion would be where your incremental innovation's happening. These jumps to different technologies. That's when, you know, you've got some radical innovation that changes the way you do things. It may also be an architectural innovation, and I'll explain that a little bit. It may also cause this type of jump. But again, what's typically happening here, as the new technology comes out, you see it's actually performing below the existing technology, and that's because it's being developed. And it's not into a production level at that point. It's still in the lab. They're still trying to work out the bugs for this new technology, whatever it is, and then at some point it takes off and it takes over. And if you're a business that's working on this S-curve and you're not working in the new technology to develop it, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to your company if you're staying on this technology and not looking at the new technologies that are out there?
Won't grow.
What?
Won't grow.
You won't grow. What else is going to happen? When you get to this point and this new technology is better, what's going to happen to your company if you didn't invest in it?
Outperformed. You're going to get
Outperformed, and eventually you're going to go away. Okay? And I've got examples that I'm going to show you where it's happened historically. And we'll talk about those. So this is again where, you know, we talk about this F exercise and it seems simple and kind of silly and it's fun and all that stuff. But that's really what happens here too at a larger scale. You get blinders on, you're focused on doing well and improving this technology, and you miss out on the new thing. And that, again, it happens at the individual level, it happens at the company level. So radical innovation, let's talk about that one first. So radical innovation is something where a new technical knowledge is required. Okay, the way we operated in the past doesn't work anymore, or isn't satisfactory anymore. When we think about physics, for instance, just the technology, you know, knowledge of physics, and we worked on Newtonian physics, and then all of a sudden Einstein develops this new theory of relativity and changes the way we think about things. So this new knowledge is required to think about things from that new perspective. The existing knowledge oftentimes becomes obsolete. It doesn't matter anymore. What you knew about that old technology, not completely useless, but pretty close. Okay? It's what you know about the new technology that matters. Firms have what we call core competencies. So a core competency is basically a firm has some knowledge base that they've developed over time. They've brought in people with technical knowledge, they grow and develop them, so they're very good at some particular technology. When a new technology comes into play, that core competency that they had with this old technology really doesn't help them much. And if they don't develop new competencies, they get left behind. And again, typically it leads to the replacement of the old technology, and often a firm, if they didn't invest in that new technology and develop in that new technology, goes away. I've got an example here. Who remembers VHS tapes, or who has some VHS tapes? Okay, pretty much hard to find anymore, aren't they? DVDs have replaced VHS tapes. Name another radical innovation you can think of. Anybody can think?
What about Kodak? How they didn't keep up with the digital?
Great example. That was actually one I wanted somebody to come up with that. That is awesome. I actually moved from New York in July. I lived about an hour south of Rochester. Kodak's in Rochester, New York. That's where their world headquarters is. And that company's in trouble. Been in trouble for a long time. I think they're getting ready to file a second bankruptcy, or they have already, maybe. They were highly invested in film. Okay, they were the best in the world, right? Right? Wouldn't you say? Widely recognized. And the digital cameras took over, and they just kind of got left behind.
And one question I may ask here, since you mentioned Kodak. I read that the digital photography was started at Kodak.
Yeah, they
So
actually
it's
had the
amazing.
technology.
So it's not like somebody
That's
else.
absolutely true.
How come that they start digital and they go bankrupt? I mean,
Again, they didn't see the big picture, I guess. You know, I mean,
it's amazing.
that happens a lot of times too. You see that in a lot of different scenarios where the big company, the established firm,
Started something.
develops some technology maybe that somebody else develops and takes it to the next level, and they get left behind. They just didn't see the future. So again, count the number of F's. Okay? Any other comments about radical innovations? Very good. Architectural innovations is a little bit different. In architectural innovation, you aren't really changing components. You may be changing the configuration of things so the process works better or differently than it did in the past. And the example I have of that is a little complicated. I'm not going to get too in-depth with this. I do want to share a little bit with you. If you want to read more about it, I'm going to show you the paper. It's by Henderson and Clark, 1990 publication. They did research on the semiconductor photolithographic, that's a mouthful, photolithographic alignment equipment. And basically this is a silicon wafer, if you haven't seen one. It looks kind of like a DVD almost, okay? They're about the same size generally. And you can see on here, every one of these little rectangles is a circuit. Very tiny, complicated circuit. And this is a little magnified view here on the right. You can see some larger pictures of those circuits. In each one of these, you know, there's a very complicated pattern of circuits here. This is all our modern electronics operate, okay, on these microcircuits. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get out of this and go to this paper. Remember, we're talking about architectural innovations.